Alrighty, we can get started. We got everyone. Ryan, Marvin, Doug, welcome everyone. Mic check real
Happy to
quick.
be here.
Guys. Great, happy to have you.
Howdy, howdy.
So before
I
we get
am.
started, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh no, I'm trying a new mic setup here, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Yeah, loud and clear. Marvin, you good?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks for
Yep,
having me.
awesome. So, gentlemen, before we get started, let's do a quick intro into the three respective projects up here. Ryan, we've obviously had you on multiple times in the past, but for people listening in for the first time, it might be good to do a quick overview, and then we can dive into things.
All right. My name is Ryan Condren. I'm CEO of a company called Titan. We do private mining pools for large miners. I've been working on a network project called Lumerin, which is decentralized Web3 routing, and we partnered with an AI network called Morpheus back in February to build out their full network. So we've been working for the past 6 months on the Morpheus AI network node, and we are happy to announce as of a couple weeks ago we're in testnet. So that's been pretty big for us.
Hi, I'm Doug. I'm the CMO of Exhibits. In this, ever-evolving landscape of AI, robust enterprise-grade GPU compute infrastructure is a critical piece. And so Exhibits um, is we consider ourselves to be at the forefront in establishing AI compute base layer for both Web3 and Web2 by providing uh, that foundational infrastructure and resource. Our key mission is removing barriers and enabling broader access to AI compute and ultimately fueling independent AI alongside um, projects like Lumerin and projects like Morpheus.
And Marvin.
Yeah, I'm. My name is Marvin Toon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fala Network. So we've been building TE since 2019, and in general, like Fala is a decentralized cloud computation platform that ensures data confidentiality. Um, our offering to Web3 use cases, we leverage the blockchain technology with the TEE used to be Intel SGX. Now we are expanding to more um, the trusted execution environment technology to offer a verifiable off-chain compute solution. So developers can use Fala as a co-processors to index data, compute with high performance, and generated proofs. So yeah, we are majorly focused on chain co-processing, AI, GameFi, and SocialFi use cases. So yeah, use Fala as a service. Thank you.
Thanks. Doug, can you explain what an AI compute base layer is?
Yeah, absolutely. What I mean by that is, um, first of all, the one of the things that's both beautiful and um, you know, sort of detrimental in the Web3 space around AI compute is relying on narrative. Um, there's a lot of narratives uh, that are based in sort of like in the compute space, particularly that are based in geo-located nodes that contribute to a network, and then ultimately create this sort of power grid, or have this idea about this power grid compute that can fuel enterprise level AI. But the reality is that this has not been fully matured yet, and so this is really a narrative at this point. And so at Exhibits, we believe that the number one piece to fueling independent AI is having viable compute that's useful in the space. And so by base layer, what we mean is that we have the core infrastructure through AIDC, AI ready data centers, the deep infrastructure that's required, which isn't just GPUs. There's a lot of infrastructure surrounding that. And so the base layer is sort of the upstream, if you will, is another way to look at it. We're very close to NVIDIA, and the closer to NVIDIA, the closer you are to the real thing. And so the base layer is across Web3 and Web2 is that base layer of enterprise grade GPU resource.
And is this better than the current? I'm assuming it's better than the current alternative where you have private companies like OpenAI that are just running their own GPUs in house.
There's a couple pieces to that. One of the parts of that is that it's incredibly expensive to interface with AWS, Google, etc. It for a for a builder, for an academic project or something like that, and across Web3 AI, if you will. And so these are a couple of this is sort of like this is a big piece of the puzzle. We because of our model, we have the ability to offer high value, not only in just cost, but also in this space in performance. We have middleware and hardware abilities, rather optimizations that enable higher performance and higher value.
And this is more for the whole panel, but Doug, also feel free to take it if you'd like. Let's talk about the intersection of AI compute and crypto. How do the two form a symbiotic relationship? And in your opinion, or in your opinions, how does AI help take crypto and blockchain to the next level?
I'm happy to answer that. Oh no, go ahead.
I'll jump in to start, just because what's really interesting, I don't think a lot of people realize, is cryptocurrency mining, when it started going at scale with GPUs, really paved the way for large scale AI compute. Where before, Google, Microsoft, AWS had these massive server farms, and now all of a sudden, circa 2012, 2013, you have every warehouse, old steel mill, old manufacturing site start popping up with these, motherboards with risers and GPUs, and you just start having these GPU farms all over the place, for Bitcoin, then for Litecoin and Script, and then moving on to X11, and then eventually Ethereum. And we just started paving the way for massive GPU infrastructure. Now it's not uncommon for these micro data centers to be all around the world, and they're not part of the big three or big four data providers as it used to be. So cryptocurrency mining really was the predecessor to these massive GPU farms for AI. And now, moving into balancing the power grid, it's a deeper rabbit hole, but it eventually is going to play very, very nicely together, kind of like a yin and yang type relationship.
Doug, did you want to jump in?
Yeah. First of all, everything that Ryan just said, but also from our perspective, at this particular moment, we feel that the Exhibits feels that the way that we can contribute, or at least the way that the Exhibits can contribute to the independent AI mission, is through offering enterprise grade compute at scale, and then financializing that compute in the form of tokenization. So where crypto and Web3 really intersect with Exhibits is in that space, in the tokenization of the compute as a real world asset.
It seems to me that I suppose the decentralization of compute, or in the example that Ryan gave, these little pockets of GPUs that are running outside of the big three, is the future. And furthermore, the democratization of compute as well. So now if I have a powerful gaming computer and I'm going on vacation for 3 weeks, I wish I'm going on vacation for 1 week, I can theoretically allocate that machine, that GPU, to a pool. That pool is then being used by, let's say, a startup that's building their own language learning model, and I'm rewarded in tokens. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that one example of how this is shifting the paradigm?
I'll break the radio silence there. Yes. So rewarding people in tokens. So for example, like on the Morpheus network, you can use your gaming GPU, offer a model on your local machine, uh, and essentially rent it out. And when you're not using it, you can make it available. When you are using it, you can turn it off. But it's this idea of, yeah, being able to monetize your local hardware. I know NiceHash actually has a really, really cool program that will do this automatically, that will use up your excess GPU compute and CPU compute to like mine altcoins kind of in the background. So there's a lot of cool utilities. AI obviously is going to be one of the largest consumer of compute, probably from this point, from this point moving forward. I highly doubt there's going to be anything that competes with AI for a very long time when it comes to compute consumption.
Yeah, and so Ryan, on that note, do you see compute being the currency of the future? Just because so many more AI projects and AI startups are gonna churn up, and it's moving at such a rapid pace. Even if I compare AI's capabilities today versus that of 2 years ago, it's almost like night and day.
Well, it's more than just currency. It's power, it's authority. It's nation states are warring against each other with their ability to get to the next layer of technology. There's an arms race with better weapons, better power production. It's a really fascinating time to be alive, because we're not just working with the limitations of a single engineer or a team of engineers at human intelligent capacities. AIs in a way that will develop things, design things, and invent things far beyond what we can ever do it, right? Even the CEO of NVIDIA himself said that their engineers don't even design their GPUs anymore. The AI models design their GPUs, and they just package them up and iterate on them. So we're already getting into the era where governments will see this as a national resource. Is how strong is your LLM at a national level for not only defense, but stability of infrastructure and power production.
And for people that don't know Ryan, one of the smartest guys I've met in the industry, have been around for about 6 to 7 years. So give him a follow. I know he puts out a lot of good content. And if you want to pick his brain on AI and on Bitcoin and on everything energy related, go ahead and do so. He gave me a 101 masterclass, or I guess that's a contradiction, but a 101 class on the myths around Bitcoin energy consumption. But that's a tangent, and I don't want to go in the wrong direction. So, gentlemen, feel free, anyone, to jump in. But we've talked about how AI is the future. We've talked about how it's rapidly evolving. We've talked about how it's going to take a front seat in terms of geopolitical powers and how they're able to compete with one another. What are some specific future developments in AI compute, in your opinions, that are likely to have the biggest impact? We mentioned LLMs, but likely have the biggest impact on the global economy.
I think Ryan can probably speak. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Doug, go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm going to drill it back down to a lower level. I've got a company now that we developed an LLM around using AI. And it really is just a very simple project. It's report writing. But I'm getting a lot of pushback. I'm in the legal services area. I'm getting a lot of pushback from people in my business about the use of an LLM and AI to help when in essence is clerical work. It's taking thousands of my arbitration decisions in the case files, building the LLM around that, and then having that model produce the reports in an automated fashion, so that it just takes a few minutes for the attorney to review. It really replaces the clerical workers and the paralegals, and it's a topic that's getting some high level discussion in my industry. Stanford is holding a conference co-hosted by a former mentor of mine who started Mediate.com and Arbitrate.com, and he's combined with the American Arbitration Association in a way that shows that the American Arbitration Association, which is a staid Web 2, I don't get into crypto, AI, or Web 3 whatsoever, they're still now looking at these issues. So that's why I think where the biggest changes are going to come is at the lower level here, where businessmen like myself try and take advantage of this new technology to build value for what's going to be a smaller number of individuals, unfortunately.
I'm throwing it over. Just by the way, thank you, Doc, for the input. I'm going to throw it over to either Marvin. I saw you and Mike or Ryan. I do want to focus a bit deeper on global impacts, right? Global paradigm shifting, economical impacts. You touched on, Ryan, geopolitical impacts. I'm trying to wrap my head around what paradigms AI compute, especially availability of AI compute, is gonna help shift or going to shift.
So this is why we're building Morpheus. Is we believe AI should be free and anyone should be able to access it. Right? Any AI model can be offered up anonymously on Morpheus. Anyone else in the world can download the Morpheus node and connect to those AI models. So it doesn't matter if you're in a sanctioned country. It doesn't matter if you're in a third world country or you have an oppressive government that wants to limit your freedoms or access to information. You can't access it, right? Where you have OpenAI and these other, Gemini and all these other more centrally hosted AI systems, they're going to have to start putting geofencing based on their data, based on the information that's available. Do you think China's going to want you to be able to ask an AI, tell me about Tiananmen Square? Who was involved in it? Who was responsible for it? No, they've built a government model around censorship of information and as a national security measure. So we want to open up AI. We want to make it free. And when you start making information free, and as these AI models get more accurate and better, you're going to have third world countries being able to ask these AI models, hey, how do I build low cost power generation? How do I, come up with certain medicines, legal information? Oh, and by the way, I don't know English. Can you translate all this into my local language in real time? Right? This is just a massive paradigm shift because we're moving into this access to information and knowledge at an unprecedented speed. So it doesn't matter what language it's in. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are in the world. If you have access to the internet or an internet connection, you have access to all of human knowledge translated real time into your language. That's going to be so incredibly powerful. I mean, just the education aspects alone of it are going to really change third world countries and emerging markets.
Okay, got it. So we are in the information age, and the first layer of that, let's say for the sake of the argument, was the internet, and then you had high-speed internet that gave more people access as long as they had a PC at home, and then you had next layer, which is smartphones that really gave everyone access to the internet, especially when Wi-Fi became more easily accessible. And now you have AI compute, and AI compute in this example that you gave, or in the different examples that you gave, Ryan, is essentially going to take the information and push it into hyperdrive. It's just going to be unprecedented amounts of learning across the globe. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think we're just getting started. I mean, we're not. It's almost like this is something else. This is not just the information age. Like we've somehow evolved out of the information age to something beyond, and it's going to accelerate a lot faster than any of us are anticipating. I think anyone that calls himself a content creator is going to quickly have a run for their money.
Totally agree.
You have
Sorry, Noah.
You have to extrapolate that now. You just
Yeah.
opened Pandora's box.
Yes.
I mean, everyone else knows what I'm talking about here. Is as far as video generation, audio generation, image generation. Um, Content is cheap now, especially with these different LLMs. The more powerful they get, they will generate content. They will write books. They will create images. They will create video and audio faster than any human can creatively do it, and at a better quality often. I could have an AI start writing me a book in the form factor of J.K. Rowling, and it could probably be better than anything I could sit down and write myself.
So
Content is becoming cheap and fast at unprecedented speeds.
So eventually it'll come down to who has the most creative mind.
Yeah.
It not even that though. It's going to be who is able to compose the most. It's funny. A couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago now, I mentioned in a small forum that we're really entering now the world of composers. We no longer are creators, but we're going to be composers, where AI is going to be the creator. It's going to have the artificial creativity, and it's up to us to compose it in a way that is the way we want it to come out. It's it's really just going to come down to who can construct the best prompt, who can execute on the coolest vision, but at the end of the day, it's AI might outpace us all even on that.
Marvin, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the world is becoming more flat than ever after it's easier to code now, right? It's easier to generate the arts for now. So AI will give the reduce the barrier for everyone to create or earn, or just run a startup. So, for example, the early stage Mid Journey just have 2 or 3 core team members, and it earned maybe $1 billion per year. So I think the world is getting better based on that. But another point of view is that the models, I mean, the model business is becoming kind of even more monopoly than ever. So today we only see maybe like 3, 4 foundation models take maybe 80% of the market share of the model market, and in the meanwhile a lot of long-tailed open source models is not being used or discovered that deep. So it basically means that I think the future world post AI stage will just separate the world into 2 parties. In one hand, the model offering will come from the several major ones, and in another hand, everybody can get beneficial from the technology itself. So I think this like drive us the crypto guys, the Web3 guys, into the business because the models already demonstrated the immense potential of co-own the open source the AI community to become the top choice for developers and organizations. For example, like Llama 3 is super competitive with the with OpenAI and Anthropic. I think the success stories from Linux or Android will come to AI models too. But however, unlike just a software development, building Linux maybe take 100 men and that's it. But building Llama 3 also heavily cost, data contribution, right? Compute, contribute to train, to operate, to inference. So it means that training and using these models need stronger public good contribution from the community than ever. So, the point is, the success of Llama 3 looks like Linux and Android, but it's not exactly the same. We need the open source world, dedicate more resources into it. And here's another question, right? Like how, for now, Llama 3 is just powered by Meta. And if we want to go further, what if Meta is broke, right? It won't happen in this year, but what if they decided to turn the most popular open source foundation model into closed source? We need to figure something else. So I think it's super important to evolve the Web3 power, the capitalization power, to make sure we can have some a public good open source model continuously running, just to keep on going, and anyone who contribute data, anyone who contribute compute can be measured and can be incentivized or can be encouraged to do so. So this is my kind of very high level thought on this.
So, Marvin, while I have you, did you want to dive a bit deeper into how Fala Network fits into all of this?
Oh, it's very kind you throw out this question. I think the job we are doing today is to build the mashable tool for data contribution and compute contribution. I mean, we we are not born to choose TE technology. In the old days, in the 2020, I guess, our original thought is to just build a public good compute market. And then we come into some technical challenges. For example, like how we can measure, how we can make sure the computer contributors uh, can't cheat, or the system, the protocol can measure their work based on their real contribution, right? If someone use these computers coming from a public protocol, right? They need to run their maybe private programs or run their private data, and how they can trust the computer providers, even though they are running it from their home. So to solve these problems, we pick up the technology of TE. But after that, there are more challenges, right? Like you can't trust Intel, you can't trust a single, remote attestation providers. So we begin to work out Fala as a protocol, to make sure that the TE, although we are using TEs, but the trust base of TEs is not a single reliance on any party. So TLDR is that the during the past couple of years, I think our work is coming to a stage that we highly abstract the nature of this compute sharing model. And now I think post the AI stage, we could involve the GPU TEs into the block space. So that's basically what we are doing. We are offering a way that the computer providers, data providers, and the compute resource users can kind of measure each other's contribution within a safe zone that they can trust each other. And in the meanwhile, data contribution business is basically on the fact that every party holding their private data without throwing out into public. So I think this is the major goal why we are doing this. And yeah.
Thank you, Marvin. Doug, did you want to tie in? Excuse me. Did you want to tie in exhibits as well?
Yeah, thanks. Well, so in this space, or in this conversation, the thing that exhibits is really emphasizes is it's important that when we talk about decentralized compute, that we're talking about in the context of being able to provide compute for large scale serious AI training and inference. And at the moment, the decentralized model, the geolocated decentralized model, is limited. And so, how we're looking at that from our vantage point is that, that first we want to provide compute that is super useful. And I think this is somewhat to Marvin's point that compute, this is still a maturing technology, and it's important to us. I mean, there's serious barriers to the ability to provide compute that is super useful, and so I feel like the kind of the number one frontier is the ability to provide training, serious AI training and inference, um, across a geo-distributed network. And so that's why we look at the value. We look at the value here as we fragment or fractionalize compute from our data centers, and then offer that as a financialized as a tokenized compute. And so that's kind of how we're looking at this.
And Ryan, did you want to jump in as well, talk a bit more about Morpheus, and then highlight the partnership that Lumerin has recently formed with Exhibits? Sorry, I don't know why I'm having a hard time pronouncing it. Exhibits and Fala.
Yeah, definitely. So for the Morpheus network, um, you know, well, let me back up. With Lumerin, we were looking at this data routing pattern of using smart contracts to connect a data provider and a data consumer. And that was the very first, pattern and use case that we applied to a hash power marketplace, was be able to have a trustless engagement between a miner and a hash power purchaser. Um, the hardest thing about all this is being able to trust the output of the data provider, right? Now, it's not such a big deal with hash power because you can spot pretty fast if you're not getting valid shares, because you're passing the hash power onto your pool, you're actively consuming the commodity. It's like, you have a pipeline of oil and you're actively using that oil to burn a flame. If that flame all of a sudden goes out, then you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, whatever is coming through that pipe is not flammable or not usable for whatever I'm trying to use it for. So something's wrong. I'll stop the engagement. Now, with AI compute, it's a little harder. It's a little harder to know if you're actually getting what you're paying for, especially when it comes to inference and prompts, because if you go to one AI provider, or heck, you could go to the same AI provider over and over and over, and you can ask it for a recipe for blueberry muffins. And each time, it's probably going to give you a slightly different recipe. So knowing proof of inference, where the provider is actually giving you quality response, is very, very difficult. So we designed Morpheus in a way where it's essentially borrowing the key tenets of the Lumerin network, which is incremental trust and acceptable loss, meaning that you're going to trust the provider, token by token, prompt and inference response, one at a time. And then at some point, if you do not like the response, if you do not like the engagement, then you can cancel the engagement. And that stop loss or that gap there would be the acceptable loss. Now, Fala network is obviously more in I believe, the secure compute aspect, where they can actually prove compute resources and provability. which is really exciting for things like the Morpheus network, because that solves a lot of scalability issues. Because as you scale compute, that acceptable loss can get unacceptable. If you're going into a engagement that's millions and millions of dollars of compute resources, the time in which you discover those compute resources are coming from a bad actor, you could have lost a significant amount of money. So things like what Follow's working on is very, very important to the Morpheus network. Um, I don't know if that helps kind of frame the engagement a little more.
Yeah, it certainly does. Marvin, did you wanna hop in there?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Thank you, Ryan, for the kind word. Yeah, just want to add up economy point of view on this is that although all of us here, right, we share the common value of Web3, and we believe, the program should be owned by user. You could verify the results coming from the programs and data sharing. But I think, unfortunately, the world is now driven by moral, is driven by economy success. But it actually doesn't conflict with what we are doing. I think I just want to point out that um, the even in Web 2 world, I think the model competition is becoming super tight. Like GPT-5, right? It's been delayed for a while already. And if you check out the ranking leaderboard of all of these public models, the differential between, for example, GPT-4, 4.0, sorry, and Anthropic maybe models and Llama 3.1, the differential is very, very tiny. So what happens in there is that, um, okay, to push foundation models into the next level, you just need to add up more data. The just is just a wording, okay? You need to add up more data into the model training process. The more data, the higher like quality of this data, the better, and the more computation power. So here's the thing, like these model companies, they're I think they're acquiring like or raising money and acquiring GPUs as much as they can. So they push, the NVIDIA company stock price into moonshot. But on the other hand, they're struggling with acquiring more qualified data. Just imagine, right, who owns the most valuable data in the world? Google, Facebook, and can you imagine Meta sharing their data to OpenAI to train GPT-4, 5? It's impossible, right? Because they have interest conflict with each other. So in this perspective, the game theory play between these giants coming to a very interesting point. Like everyone almost already acquired the data they can buy. And I think if the intelligence, level of these models need to come into the next stage, this company need to get some data they can barely get for now. It means that it's a big opportunity, also computation power. It means that for Web3 is a very big opportunity for us because we could enable the power of people. Like I can download my personal data from Twitter, right, from Facebook, from Google, and even without the authorization or permission, Meta in the Meta's user agreement. So because it's my data based on GDPR or CCPA laws, I have to be able to download this data. So it means that if we could figure out some way that the community could gather their data resource or compute resources together, this is exactly what the top model providers needed. So I kind of see a PMF of from Web3 in a DAGI perspective for Web2 companies, even though they are building closer source models. Yeah, so but in a better future, right? We could leverage those power to own some, like a Linux level open source model, and it's even better than any other solutions in the world. So it's just that's it. It's just another point of view. I think the power of that Web3 can leverage people is super helpful even to the current model competition. Yeah.
Just a quick.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, I think that's a really, really cool point that, yes, using Web3 to monetize people's data, where it's actually paying the people to share their personal data or their social media data or whatever, it's a really powerful model for training these new AI models. I will say, though, that I do think OpenAI is probably far beyond what we even realize, where, ChatGPT 5 has probably been ready to ship for several years. And I'm going to venture to guess they're probably already on ChatGPT like 6 or working on 7 at this point. And they're just like trying to figure out how to roll this out in stages and slow roll their company build rather than just blowing everyone else out of the water. But that's like the conspiracy theorist in me. Um, but I do think that as we get more decentralized model training, I know like Flock is working on stuff like this, and a few other networks are working on decentralized model training. I think I think you guys are as well. As we monetize people's data to train these models and use, Facebook, Google, TikTok, whatever else we have in our data profiles, eventually we'll catch up. But I do think personally that OpenAI is probably far beyond what we even realize.
Yeah, so just a quick follow-up. This conversation of the monetization of our data, of an individual's data, has been brewing in the industry for as long as I remember. And we still haven't really seen it go mainstream or even come close. At least I haven't really seen it come close. What do you guys estimate would be the timeline for this coming to fruition?
I'll go first on this. I think um, the fundamental reason is that lacking. Yeah, although I see a lot of cities complaining about infrastructure building, right, in the space instead of apps. We need more apps. But the thing is, I think there's two kind of break point for now. The first one is lacking of confidential availability infrastructures to build a monetized uh, workflow for each parties. Uh, you can't do it on Ethereum. You can't do it on any layer twos. You can't do it on Filecoin, because if I'm contributing my data, I need to be damn sure, like the environment is safety, right? I won't leak my personal data just because I can earn some bucks. So this is my major concern. So how to have like a pretty decent trust setup to ensure like when the community contributing their data, it can be protected pretty well. So I think the security assumption here should be at the same level of DeFi smart contract, right? Maybe some infrastructures will be hacked, some won't. So like the nature make the like a nature competition choose the winner. So I would say lacking of confidential level infrastructure is the first barrier. The second one is economy innovations. So if you check out what happened in DeFi Summer, the beautiful 2021, right? Like there's so many good ideas that involve everybody's capital into the LPs to provide your liquidity to pools and earn some money. Like so far in the AI space, the AGI space, or crypto AI space, um, the capitalization ideas are not good enough or haven't been widely accepted by crypto community yet. So I would say these are the two barriers for now, but I think it will come soon. Yeah.
Yeah, Marvin. One of the arguments I make is that, well, not arguments, but one of the things I've noticed is we had DeFi summer kick off the previous bull run, and I've been wondering what the next big sector, the next big catalyst to kick off this next bull run is going to be. And man, I really want to hope it's not memes, but I wonder if it's. I wonder if it's this. I wonder if maybe we might be a bit late to the game, but if this is the sector that kicks off the next bull market, what do you think?
I really hope it's not me, but sometimes it, yeah, the crypto community is very unpredictable, right? Like we could roughly know what are the valuable market, what are the good ideas, but we don't know which super cycle can boost it into the moon. So that's the thing, right? We've been building TEs for years, and I remember, even back in 2017, 2018, there's a project called Gola. They are using TE technology for a compute marketplace, but they're super the by then the crypto community is super critical on a TE end, so they're facing a lot of pressure. And now Ethereum community pick it up again because they figure out, okay, we have to solve these problems with some technology, and even though we can't trust the technology, let's improve it, right? Let's build a better trusted base for this. So sometimes things moving kind of unpredictable. But I've been very keen or close to crypto market. What I see here is most of the crypto AI projects are kind of very similar with memes. So I remember podcast by Backlist. They mentioned that, okay, AI season is AI meme season. Okay, I'm like, wow. So so my point is, yeah, the we don't. I do think in this super cycle, I would say that the maybe AI narrative the uh, could be the one, but don't put all your expectation on that, because it could be Solana season, social fight season too. But if we know what we are doing have high potential, high value, then what we need to do is just to stick on it and keep building on it. Yeah, I would say it's 40% or 50% possibility that AI narrative is the top tracker of this super cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
think.
would like to,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I would like to add a quick comment on that. I think bigger problem in the current market is that BTC get pumped, Ethereum kind of get pumped, but not the other altcoins. The main reason is there's just no new money to add to the altcoin market. So that's why like we still feel it's on a bull market, but we're still in a bear market. But I would like to point out one interesting idea, which is lacking of new money can potentially be solved by the decentralized AI, because in decentralized AI we don't just sell our models to Web3 users. This is just a very small. Say if we can have a very nice model, it can be even used by Web2 users. Then theoretically, they can purchase the service, pay the money, and the money can be the new money flow into the crypto market, so that everyone in the crypto altcoins can be benefited. Compared with crypto, AI is actually a way larger market. So yeah, I see this potential future. So that's also one of the reason we are keeping really keep uh trying hard to build on decentralized AI. We just see it as a huge potential.
Yeah, Hung, I'm first of all sorry I wasn't able to bring you up earlier. I'm not sure what was going on, but I'm glad you made that point. It's something I've been saying on our platform for quite some time this year, that we're not in a bear market. I know everyone, or excuse me, that we're not in a bull market. I know everyone got really excited with that initial pump and all the meme token trading, but if you look at the numbers, not just new retail liquidity, but current liquidity, as well as the views on popular YouTube channels and search frequencies for crypto related terms, none of the numbers are remotely close to what they were in 2021. So that's one point, and I wanted to just reiterate for people listening. And the other is, yeah, I could certainly see the money that is flowing around in the AI space somehow permeating into our industry, just because the two overlap so symbiotically, and I think they're going to continue to do so. I think that Marvin made some good points as well. Um, maybe this is I don't know, maybe this is going to be the super cycle that everyone talked about, and maybe we do see a cycle where there isn't just a DeFi summer and a GameFi summer, like we saw in 2020 and 2021, but maybe there is um, multiple explosions of different sectors in the industry that include GameFi and DeFi and SocialFi and AI, just because the industry has matured that much over the last 3-4 years. So only time will tell. Only time will tell. But I'm excited for it. Rahmat's been waiting for quite some time with his hand up, so I'll go to him. And Captain Levi is also in queue for a question. So, Alex, I don't know if you wanted to just come up and hang, or if you had a question as well, but feel free to throw your hand up if so.
Yeah, thank you. Now I have two questions. Okay, I was thinking, does the Lumiran and the Morpheus also support any mechanism for users or data providers to license their data directly through the platform? And if so, can you also explain how this licensing process will going to work within the Lumiran ecosystem?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily like a licensing. You can register on chain as a provider anonymously. To do so, you will stake some Morpheus token to be a part of the Morpheus network. And then you'll essentially set a price per second to connect to that data model. So anyone else that has a Morpheus node running can access that data model, ask questions against it, run prompts against it, and pay you for it. And it all happens completely anonymously through a decentralized system.
Understood. Okay, given that Luminan aims to disrupt the centralized data routing models by decentralizing control over data streams, in your opinion, what would be the theoretical limits of decentralization in these data routing processes? And are there any applications or scenarios where centralization might still offer superior solutions over the decentralized models?
I'm not sure if I caught the question. Are you asking centralized versus decentralized for these data routing systems?
Yes, yes, exactly.
So, I mean, there's always going to be a trade-off. Centralized systems are better. They get better performance. They're often cheaper. They're easier to maintain. Decentralized systems are inherently slower because they have to go through a consensus mechanism. So I mean, look at any democratic government around the world. It is hard to get people to agree on things. And then even when you make it a protocol, it still takes time. So, the Bitcoin network comes to finality with a block every 10 minutes. Uh, Ethereum's every 15 seconds. Litecoin's 2.5 minutes. Like, we have all these different block coins. I think Arbitrum's like a quarter of a second. But there are trade-offs. So with decentralized, it's typically slower, it's more expensive, you have duplicate data all over the place, it's not very optimized, but it is free. It's decentralized. It is censorship resistant, permissionless. You don't have a central authority telling you what you can or can't do on that network. Now, anytime you want to trade consensus speed and block speed, or you want to improve on like block size, block speed, consensus, you typically have to sacrifice an element of decentralization. So this takes the this ends up looking like super nodes or block processing nodes or like a DPoS type system where you have delegates doing the proof of stake system. So anywhere you want to improve speed and performance in a decentralized system, you're typically doing it at the sacrifice of decentralization. Now, decentralization is not a yes or a no. It's just how much is required for the system at hand. And generally what we see is the more valuable the system, the more need for decentralization to keep it safe. So Bitcoin, $1 trillion+, it needs to be very, very decentralized to keep it safe. But if it's a system that's worth a couple dollars, it's probably just good enough just to have me and my buddy agree on it, right? So the level of decentralization is it needs to have a greater level of decentralization when you have a greater level of value. Now, when it comes to decentralized AI, we're starting off very, very small. We're on the Arbitrum network. We're going to be building the compute marketplace on the mainnet. Right now, it's deployed out on testnet. We're going to be interfacing with the Venice.ai project, which has exploded recently with their users. I think they're pushing like 60, 70,000 users right now. It's going crazy. But we are slowly deploying it out on Arbitrum. It will then start branching into Base. It'll start branching into Ethereum. It'll start branching onto every other EVM because eventually decentralized AI will be one of the most valuable networks on this planet. And because of that, we can't just rely on any one decentralized network, but we have to decentralize across all of the networks in order to make sure that this stays safe and free. So that's going to be very slow. It's going to be not very optimized at all, but it will stay free. It will stay censorship resistant, and it will stay decentralized. And that's our goal with Morpheus.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Thank you so much for your time. Over to you, Noah.
Thank you, Rahmat. Captain Levi, what's going on, man? Captain Levi, you with us? He might be rugging. Let's go to Alex.
No, man. I think Ryan basically already said what I wanted to say. Basically, wonderful space we've got here, guys. I think the question which Rama basically asked in the end, just to add to what Ryan said, it's gonna be a preference of what we need exactly because in general, a decentralized system will always tend to be suited better for case where we are trying to prioritize like resilience, transparency, or user empowerment. So it depends on exactly what you're comparing for. There's not like a proper yes or no answer. If you want a system whereby there's resilience everywhere, everything is transparent and user empowered, such as cryptocurrencies, for example, five sharing, and you're not there's less control and it's not autonomous. You can say a decentralized system is better, but in that case, if the reverse is the case, then centralized, obviously. So it's not like a proper yes or no answer.
Yeah, that's fair. And I agree with Ryan's take and your reiteration of it. Captain Levi, if you're there, speak up. Otherwise, I'll go to Big Red and we will wrap up.
Hey guys, mic check. How's my audio now?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right, I just wanted asking, it's always great to see these guys here. Ryan, I saw your latest tweets and I really appreciate. It's really lovely to see that even the African ecosystem is actually contributing to Bitcoin mining. I just wanted asking a question regarding the encryption and security about all this. Providing security for these assets. We actually had a really interesting podcast where we discussed about running updates in both hardware and firmware. And I got some really insightful comments from one of the guests at that time. But of course, I'd love your take on this as well. With the ever increasing complexity of these Bitcoin miners and even more complex applications, what are your thoughts on providing on the security around this ecosystem? I'd like to know. It's an open question to anyone in the audience.
Yeah, I think probably I can do some comments because I'm the technical guy in Fala Network. Quick comment on that is we're using the trusted hardware, by trusted hardware, it means that we give you like a magic black box. You put whatever model you want to run inside, which is a GPU, and they just give you the output without anyone being able to access or manipulate the things happening inside. So it's a black box. Nobody can touch what's happening inside. This is the hardware guarantee. Of course, you need to trust the hardware manufacturer, but everyone is using NVIDIA, so that's not a super big problem for now. On the other side, you also mentioned performance. We just did some benchmark on the highest end NVIDIA GPU H100. If we run inference on Llama 3, basically the performance overhead is just around 0.5% to 2% based on the configuration. So compared with any other, I would say, confidential computing solutions like zero knowledge proof, or OPML, or even FHE, this is just a trivial, because zero knowledge proof can give you like a overhead of maybe 1,000 times, 1,000 times, not 1,000%. FHE is even harder. It's another maybe 100 times compared with CK. That's why the only viable way to have verifiable and privacy preserving AI is by trusted hardware. And this is the solution we're trying to explore. We are exploring and delivering some very promising results right now. Yeah, hope I answer your question.
Yes, you did. But that actually does give rise to my last question. I and a colleague were actually discussing a research I actually found on the concept of using zero knowledge proof. And then I stumbled upon another research material where using same concept of zero knowledge proof, it in itself is actually poses a vulnerability. I actually say this because if in some way um, people happen to amass nodes, when although I'm not really talking about the secure end of the GPUs, but I'm talking about where GPUs are actually, or computing power is actually requested, so to speak, from decentralized mining systems. If this happens, it in itself is a vulnerability because high-end gaming systems, when there are a good amount of them, so to speak, will actually also provide significant computing power. But if this significant computing powers is actually not properly reported, or reported with hashes as hashes, even if they do provide that set task, they accomplish the task, they might not be from rightful owners of these systems. What's your take on that? I don't know if you understand the question.
I would try to repeat your question. So your question is um, maybe twofold. One is, what if the confidential computing hardware, the trusted hardware, is having some problem? Another point is, you also mentioned another way. Say we can have some redundancy of computation to have cross verification, so that even without trusted hardware, we can also get some kind of trusted results. Are my understanding correct?
Exactly, exactly my point.
Okay, right. So, for the let me answer the first point. Of course, for any solution, including zero knowledge proof, the software solution or the hardware solution, there could be some bugs. Whenever there's a bug, we just fix the bug, and then we upgrade the system, right? So this is the same for hardware. Hardware are upgradable. So in the past few years, there are some bugs happening in hardware, and the Intel fixed that. We upgraded the system so that it will not affect the hardware in the future, and we can ensure the all the known bugs can be fixed. The same way as you have a smart contract, right? If you say there's a bug in the smart contract, you do an upgrade, you do a fork, and let people to switch. Um, the same way. So it is a little bit risk, but I would say now like the industry have very mature solution to prevent such hardware bugs affecting the whole network, or have a very negative consequence compared with uh, the things we get. I mean, the value it creates. the risk is somehow manageable. If you're interested, we can always have like an in-depth talk in the future. It will go very, very deep. So just a simple question to the first, simple answer to the first question. Second one is if it's possible to do redundancy. Quick answer is yes and no. You can do redundancy computation as long as you don't care about two things. One is you need the model to be deterministic. So basically, if you ask OpenAI or like a GPT one question multiple times, it's going to give you different answers. This is why using traditional consensus, it's very hard to verify the output of LLM because you need some kind of determinism. It can be achieved, but you're going to modify the large language model itself. Uh, this is the first requirement. Second requirement is um, um, yeah, let me think about it a little bit. Second requirement is that you want this model to be
I wouldn't really want to put too much strain on it, but I'm actually following your comments and I appreciate the insights you shared. But I definitely hope that that line of thought you get it, and as soon as you do, I hope put it on a tweet sometime where you send it directly to me. And as regards the invitation to discuss more in detail, I'd be more than happy. I'll be happiest person to also
yeah,
discuss
yeah,
further
yeah, yeah, yeah.
insight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
Oh,
sure, sure.
if I can jump
Yeah,
in, if I
great.
can jump in here too. Um, Security and encryption and trust, it's always going to be a cat and mouse game, right? We're going to find bugs, we're going to find loopholes, we're going to find exploits, and that's just the nature of cryptocurrency and smart contracts and secure compute. What's really, really important and the best way around this stuff is multiple choices. Having the ability to not only go through one provider. So if all we could go through was OpenAI, if all we could go through was Google and they had an exploit, then we're all screwed. But if there are multiple providers that you aren't just relying on one single source of truth, if they monkey with their truth, if they decide that a certain historical event didn't exist, you don't have to accept that. You can go to other providers providing other models that haven't been censored. And that's what's really, really important is having the ability for multiple choices, multiple providers. And as far as like proof of inference and the ability to check non-deterministic models, the biggest pattern I'm seeing is actually using LLMs to check other LLMs. So the current pattern right now is you actually run a local model on your machine to check the inference response from another LLM to say, well, I asked this, chat GPT-4 for, 5 different blueberry muffin recipes, over and over and over again. Did it give me a blueberry muffin recipe? And check it with your local LLM that is going to say yes or no. And now you're going to actually have your local consensus where you could actually run, 5, 10, 20 local LLMs on different threads, all coming to consensus with each other to determine if the response was true or not. So these type of patterns are starting to emerge. The problem is they're very, very complicated and they use a lot of compute. So at the end of the day, back to Noah's original point, compute will be the currency of the future, and we're all going to be wrestling over who's going to control it.
Hey, thanks. Regarding the fact of LLMs checking LLMs, I thought of a really unique concept that actually refined my own prompt engineering skills, and that was using an LLM to prompt another LLM. So I actually believe that it's actually going to provide really good and very powerful results. When these powerful models actually checkmate themselves. So I really also appreciate the insight. It's always great hearing from you guys. Wishing you people the best, and I really hope that all of the ecosystems keep staying bullish moonward. Looking forward to the next one. Thanks, guys. Over to you, Noah.
Thank you, Captain
Thanks so much
Levi.
for the spaces, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. We have one more question from Big Red, and then we can wrap things up. I know we went a little bit over.
How we doing, guys?
Let's go.
So yeah, I love decentralization, and I kind of got into this a little late. And I see you guys have AI compute. Are you talking about like any type of cloud when you're talking about compute, like a cloud compute, or it's an AI in a cloud compute?
I can answer that. So when we're referring to AI compute, it's this idea of taking a prompt and putting it through an LLM to get an inference out of the LLM. So that's well, one side of it is the using of the LLM, and the other side is training the LLM. So using the LLM, if it's just simple text-based LLMs, it actually doesn't use a whole lot of compute. Once you start getting into image generation, audio generation, and video generation, then you start getting more and more compute resources needed. The bulk of the compute resources used in AI is model training. That's where you're taking raw data and you're line by line training this model on it. It uses a significant amount of resources, uses a significant amount of electricity. So that's the bulk of AI compute, or it wouldn't be necessarily cloud compute. Doing something like that on AWS would just be prohibitively expensive. It's more specialized where you're actually running high-end GPUs inside of a data center that is uniquely designed to do model training.
So are you guys gonna be are you making your own blockchain? You're gonna have your own rails for the transactions, or are you gonna run transactions?
So there's
Like AI is a smart.
different ecosystems. Good question. So Fala Network is doing more secure model training and AI compute. Lumerin is working with the Morpheus network to do open access to LLM prompt and inference requests. Eventually, we'll start working on decentralized model training, but that's a pretty hard nut to crack in our type of environment. But hopefully that answers your question.
No, that did. Have you ever tried to run a AI smart contract on ICP before?
I haven't personally, no.
It just like kind of came out, and there's this whole thing where it's like an enterprise, like Utopia, where you could kind of host your own AI as a smart contract.
Hey, Big Red. I'm gonna jump in here just because we're 15 minutes over, and I want to be respectful of the guest time. This sounds like it's gonna go into a tangent of its own. Ryan, Doug, Hong, and let's see, Marvin left. I think he had to go. Oh, there he is. No, sorry, Marvin. Thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate it. If anyone has any closing thoughts or anything to share with the audience before we wrap things up, go ahead and do so now. But otherwise, as I said, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I would like to have a quick one. I'm very, very positive about, optimistic about the future of decentralized AI because now we see the demand. It's very obvious, and we have the solution, like the decentralized GPU, decentralized AI marketplace, data, and also the trusted hardware is just available from this year. So we have everything we need to make everything happen. So yeah, let's fucking just do it.
Let's
Here,
do
here.
it. I love it.
Here.
Great.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you again for joining. Moby Media community, thank you. Remember that everything you hear on these broadcasts is meant for educational purposes only. Nothing is financial advice. So be safe out there, and we will see you all on the next one soon. Take care.
Thanks, guys.